People ask me, Nicholeen, what does it take to be a foster parent? Why do they ask me? Because I was a foster parent for troubled children for a lot of years. I'm Nicholeen Peck, I'm a parenting expert, and I've done foster care, and I'm going to tell you in this video what it takes to be a really great foster parent. So there are videos out there that probably say things like you've got to have your medicines locked up, each child needs to have their own bed to sleep in, you can't have more than 2 children in a room, you need to have only foster children sharing rooms together, never sharing with your natural children, all of those kinds of logistical things. But I want to go deeper today. So I want to give you a list of things that you can do to help your mindset be in the right place, to know if you have what it takes, and to help you develop some skills that you'll need to be successful at foster parenting. When I was a young mother, my oldest children were 3 and 1. My husband changed careers and we decided that I wanted to stay home with my children, and that was going to be the best place for me at the time because I had worked really hard to leave a career. Well, I decided that the best way I could stay home with my children and still support my husband was to take in other children. So we started doing foster care. We did treatment foster care for youth ages 12 to 18 years old. But no matter what age foster care you are considering, the principles, mindsets, and skills that I'm going to share in this video will be beneficial to you. A good foster parent is planned. So what this means is you decide what you want your home culture to feel like and be like before you even take in any foster children, because you've got to protect that. Your other children, your family life needs to be your top priority. That brings me to probably your number one thing you need to consider. If you have other children in your home, if you have your own natural children there, your number one priority is to keep your natural children safe. As tempting as it might be to try to consider the foster children to be exactly at the same place as your children and to have them playing and interacting and even sleeping together in the same room and what all the time, don't do it. Don't do it. You never really know the history that that foster child had, and your children need you to keep them safe no matter what. There were times where I had to take 2 foster children with me out to the mailbox to get my mail and leave my own children inside playing just so they wouldn't be in the same room together. It was a boundary that I put in place to keep my children safe. So make boundaries. In our family, they could never go into one of my natural children's rooms and do anything with them in there without our approval, and that was never going to happen. So there were certain play areas, and I was always monitoring play areas. When children have abuse histories, especially sexual abuse histories, things can happen really fast behind closed doors, so never allow doors to be closed. I know we want to give them what it feels like to be a regular family, a regular home life, and we can do that and still maintain safety boundaries. We don't want them to ever be accused of anything they didn't do. And if we keep boundaries safe, then that keeps them safe from any accusations as well. A good foster parent is diligent. This means there's no time for laziness. You have to decide to have your game on every day. Now, I know that seems like, uh-oh, I'm not doing it for sure. You really can be capable of having your game on every day, so long as you decide, I'm diligent, I'm gonna be there, I am invested every day. You'll be surprised how much energy you can create for yourself just by deciding to be diligent in all of the teaching and the correcting and all of the care that is required for everyone in your home. Many people take my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course prior to doing foster care because they want skill development. So when I did foster care, I worked for a facility that did intense teaching. We had 3 weeks of teaching every night, and they taught us lots of different skills and things. And I share some of those skills in my parenting course. In fact, I think I've simplified a lot of those things that I learned in my foster care years so that they're easier for you to use. But you need skills. The foster children will need things like how to follow an instruction, how to accept a no answer and criticism, how to accept consequences, how to disagree appropriately. And you will need skills like how to calmly but firmly correct them when things go wrong so that you can keep things moving in a nice forward direction physically, cognitively, and emotionally. One of the biggest lessons that I learned as a foster parent was how to be calm when somebody else wasn't, and how to help them become calm without losing my calmness at the same time. This was a skill that I used. In fact, we used something called intensive teaching, and the type of intensive teaching that I teach, which is simplified based on that skill, is called the Rule of 3. When parents have a skill to use for how to keep their own calmness and how to help their children become calm at the same time, then everyone feels safe with the teaching. And suddenly you're their advocate instead of the person that's power struggling against them. If you need help with calmness, down below this video, there is a link to a calm parenting toolkit that's on my website, and it's free, completely free. So I would highly recommend looking into that. When these children come to your home, they are essentially entering in a whole new culture. And in this new culture, we want them to learn. We want them to see a functioning family, good communication, and we want them to solve some of their problems. So you need to have this mindset that they will learn. They can learn. No matter what in your home, they will learn. So then you have to ask yourself, what am I going to be teaching them? What is this environment going to be teaching them? So deliberately decide how you want your environment to be. Do you want them to have daily chores? If so, what are they going to be like? What adult skills are you going to be helping them to develop? What type of bonds do you want them to see so that they know those bonds are possible in their future lives? Know that you are a learning environment. And if you see yourself as a teacher in a learning environment, that's going to help you so much more as you help those children transition in their lives to the next placement and then possibly the next placement. Perseverance is vital for a foster parent. You've got to persevere. There are hard days, but don't let them get the better of you. Just decide, okay, that was a bad day. Things didn't go good. There was a lot of drama we had to deal with, but tomorrow is always new. Because remember, they're learning, right? Since they're learning, tomorrow can always be a new day. Don't let yourself get caught up in the bad moments, which means don't take things personally. Just have hope and move on. They need that example. A lot of the children that come into a foster home in care have not had the attention they need, and they've not had the bond and connection with other adults that they need. So what would happen to them and to their self-esteem and to their outlook on life if all of a sudden they had a really good bond with somebody? Well, the thing that makes a really great bond is you being an understanding person. This doesn't mean you're a therapist, but this does mean that when something's going on, maybe they're angry, maybe they're sad about something, or they're disappointed, that you try your best to understand. That doesn't mean you leave them in that condition, because we're going to help them learn the skills they need to get out of that state, but we don't judge them for it. We just understand where they're at. We try our best to let them know that we're there for them, and we get that it's a hard time, even if we don't understand every single particular. This brings me to another point. Don't judge. They've come from different backgrounds, and there's nothing they can do about what happened to them. At this point, they're having a fresh start in your home, or maybe it's just a reset. So don't judge what they've been through. See their potential and where they can go and help them move forward toward their potential. In fact, it's a really good idea to help them make a vision for their future, help them to make plans for who they would like to become, so that when they leave your home one day, which most of them will, they will actually see themselves as still moving in a forward direction, even though another change has just taken place. Speaking of potential, we don't want to only see the potential of the children, but we need to see the potential of their parents. This shouldn't be a shock to you, but in case it is, I want you to know something. When you do foster care, you don't just do care for those children. You end up having relationships with their parents too, and you have to help them get to a new and better place. Because the goal for those children is always to reunify with the family. The children want to reunify with their families. Even if they've been abused before, they identify with that family. That's who their blood is, that's who they belong to, and that's the only place they feel like where they'll be fully happy. Don't judge the parents either, even though they've made some serious mistakes sometimes. Look at their potential, help them move forward. They can learn too. Be sure to keep good records. That's really important because you're going to have to go to courts. So whenever you take in children that are wards of the state, they have to do checkups at courts. So you need to keep good records of what they're learning and what mistakes maybe they've had that the court might have to know about. And be sure to be their advocate. When you do go to the court, advocate for them. That speaks volumes for them and for your home and the placement that they're having with you. If they make a mistake, don't give up on them too easily because they're used to people giving up on them. They run away because because that makes their life change again, because they don't want to handle their problems. If you've got the skills and you can be consistent and be firm with their teaching, then and also be their advocate for their success, they can change in your home. They can take themselves to a new level of development and create a path for success and happiness in their lives, instead of just following the same broken path again and again. All of the skills that I teach in my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course are going to help you with your communication. It's absolutely vital that you have good communication with the children. They need to know exactly what you're telling them they need to do, and they need to know how to respond to that. They also need to know how to voice their concerns or maybe disagreements with you in an appropriate way. If you remember, I mentioned a skill called disagreeing appropriately. That's a great skill for them that they can use to voice their opinions to you and to feel like it's done in a completely safe and understood manner. Your family has standards. So there are things you will say and won't say. There might be a type of clothing that you won't wear. There's maybe music you won't listen to, movies that you won't watch. What you need to do before you ever have foster children come into your home, especially if they're teenage foster children, is you need to make a list of what your family standards are. Write it out so that when they come into your home, you can say, this is what our family does. This is our culture. This is our standard. And when you're here, you need to abide by these standards. These are instructions for you, or maybe some of them are no answers. And hopefully you teach them those skill sets for how to follow instructions and accept no answers. If you set up a family standard and you tell them about that standard the first day that they arrive, then there's not going to be a lot of conflict and pushback about little things. Can I pierce that or tattoo that or see that movie? You'll have the standard in place so that you can eliminate a lot of those arguments and that contention right at the beginning. Oh, be sure to add stuff about digital in there too, because that's a big part of a child's life now, and they need to know what the digital boundaries are. You're embarking on a beautiful journey. Foster parenting, if you choose to do it, can change your life, and it can change the life of generations of people who are part of the future families of those foster children. Your ability to be a good leader for them is going to make all the difference. If you've liked this video, I'm pretty sure you're going to like the next video, which is called How to Be a More Calm Parent. Click on that video. I think you'll like the lessons there.